Hello everybody, welcome into Space Engineers. In this tutorial episode for my beginner guide series, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set up your refineries and assemblers to use the speed modules, yield, and power reduction. Now the main thing to note first off is that this is the main like kind of big block refinery, the actual refinery that you're going to be using a good bit. This is the basic refinery, this is your normal assembler, and then the basic assembler, and then these are the three modules you'll be using. So first of all, we have the speed module, which is very easy to see that it's, a speed module because of how it is constructed. That's how you can see which refineries or assemblers have which module on them. But moving on to the yield module, you can see it's easily defined by the conveyor tube that leads into a couple of little pipes at the back there. And then we have the power reduction module, which looks like it has a couple of reactor heads on top of it. So what exactly do these do? So first of all, we're going to start with the speed module, and as the name suggests, it quickens the speed of the production of whatever you're doing, or the refinement of whatever you're doing. So like for example, let's say you're processing some stone, it'll make that stone go a lot quicker than if it doesn't have the if it's just a completely blank refinery such as that. Now you have your yield module, which again, as the name suggests, it raises the yield of each ore, or well, really it is only effective to the ore. It doesn't change the input or the output, sorry, of the components in an assembler. Now we have the power reduction module, which again is very self-explanatory. It reduces the power consumed by the block that it's attached to. Alright, now let's put that information into a little bit more practical of a use. First thing to note before you actually start building mods is that, as you can see, there is the main cargo hatch on this assembler here, but there's also a little tiny square in the middle of that cargo hatch, and a square on top, and it goes around on all four sides. On the refinery here, you can see that there are 8 little squares on the back of it, or the front, depending on whatever you want to call it. However, with the basic refinery, you can see that it is just clearly a cargo hatch. There are no little squares. And now the speed modules, the yield modules, all the mods, they attach to these little squares, and the basic assembler doesn't have one either. They attach to these, oops, that was the wrong one, but they attach to these squares, these small squares, and that is how the mod will be activated. So unfortunately, basic assembler and basic refinery are unable to accommodate a speed mod, or sorry, the mods. Alright, now let's actually get into the demonstration of the different effects of the modules. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and I spawned 20.3 thousand kilograms of stone into here. Now if you're wondering how I did that, go ahead and check out my key bindings tutorial. I'll link that, or put a card up in the top corner of your screen, or link that in the description. But anyways, let's go ahead and turn this on, and let's see how fast it processes this stone just by the basic refinery itself. Alright, so as we can see, I don't know exactly how long it is, but in editing I will put up a time code just to give you a little bit of an idea. But as we can see, we have 284 gravel, 608 iron, 48.6 nickel, and 81.1 silicon. Now let's go ahead and just empty all that out real quick. Now let's do the same test, but let's go ahead and add 4 speed modules onto the back. Alright, and as you can see, I've again filled it up to 20.3 kilograms of stone, and let's go ahead and turn the refinery on and watch this quickly chew through the stone. Alright, much quicker than just the basic refinery. As you can see, the output is exactly the same: 284 gravel, 608 steel, iron, 48.6 nickel, and 81.1 silicon. Now let's go ahead and clear it out once more. Alright, so now let's go ahead and add on some yield modules onto this bad boy. And let's go ahead and first of all make sure that it is off, of course, and then let's spawn in some more stone into the refinery, and it is now full. So let's go ahead and check, 1, the speed, and 2, the output of the refinery now that it has 4 yield modules on it. Let's go ahead, turn it on, and let's watch. Alright, and as we can see, we have now changed the output of the stone, the 20.3 thousand stone, I believe, that we put into initially. So in the first test, the dry run, we had 284 kilograms of gravel, 608 kilograms of iron, 48.6 of nickel, and 81.1 of silicon. As you can clearly see here, the output is a good bit greater than the baseline, which 568 gravel, 1.22k iron, 97.3 nickel, and 162 silicon, which works out to about 50% raise in each of them. There are some variants. For example, the iron is only 49.99, so you lose 0.01% of the upgrade, but that's really quite negligible because you've literally doubled your iron, you've doubled your nickel, and you've doubled your silicon. Now, with stuff like gold, platinum, cobalt, uranium, stuff like that you need a decent amount of just to get a few kilograms of actual usable ingots out of the ore, you need a good bit of actual ore. For example, in my survival series, check that out, put the card right up in the corner there for you, but in my survival series I went out and I grabbed like 40,000 cobalt, and it ended up giving me only about 3,000 actual ingots. So the ratio is a little bit different. And I can go ahead and demonstrate this by, let's go ahead and find some. First of all, let's turn this off. Alright, and now that that is clear, let's go ahead and add 1,000 cobalt into the refinery, and let's go ahead and see how much cobalt ingots we actually get from that. Alright, so as we can see, we've gone ahead and gotten 300 cobalt ingots, and that took about 13 minutes to produce that. And in that time, the sun has shifted, so where is it? Let's go ahead and bring it back towards the actual where we're working place. Alright, so now let's do the same test, but this time we're gonna put 4 yield modules onto the refinery. Let's go ahead, toggle it off, and we'll go ahead and spawn in another 1,000 cobalt ore. As you can see, let's go ahead, turn it on, and see how much we get from 4 yield modules. Alright, well, as you can see, the cobalt has finished being processed, and clearly it is exactly double the initial test, the dry run for cobalt, with no yield modules on the refinery. With 4 yield modules, we clearly have 600, which is obviously double the initial output. So with the initial output, we put in 1,000 ore, we got 300 ingots back, which is 30% of the input value. With the upgrade modules, however, we got 60% of the input. So that is a heck of a lot better than just running the refinery as is. So let's go ahead and clear that out. Now, one thing to note with the refinery is that, with the yield modules, is that the output ratio depends on, it varies with different types of blocks. Actually, let's go ahead and demonstrate this with, let's say, uranium. I guess we should probably start with a dry run, huh? So let's go ahead, turn the block off, and this time, just because I don't feel like waiting for 15 minutes again, I'm gonna do 500 uranium ore. And where is uranium? Right here. There we go. So as you can see, we have 500 uranium in there, and let's go ahead and see how much we get from that. Alright, now let's try the exact same experiment with 4 yield modules instead. Alright, and as you can clearly see, we've gone ahead and doubled our output again. But one thing that I wanted to note, because as I said, the kind of output depends on what you're refining. Now, as in the cobalt test, we saw that it was a 50% raise, and yes, it was a 50% raise with the uranium as well. However, the ratio for the cobalt was actually 6 to 10. So each 10 parts of cobalt we got put into the and keep in mind that this is with the yield modules installed. But with the cobalt, it was actually 6 to 10 ratio. So every 10 parts of cobalt that was in there, we got 6 parts back. Or sorry, I should say kilograms, not parts. But with the uranium, we put in 50 parts and we only got 1 kilogram back. So it's a much, much lower ratio. Now keep in mind, yes, uranium is 1 kilogram can last a fair decent amount of time in many given situations. You won't really worry. You don't really need to worry too much about having, you know, millions of uranium. But anyways, enough babbling. Let's go ahead and get this freaking sun back onto the face of this bad boy place. And now let's move on to the assemblers. So let's go ahead and real quick, we're gonna go ahead and spawn in. Let's just do 10,000 iron ingots. I just did 20,000, whatever. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to produce, first of all, make sure the assembler is off. We're going to produce 500 construction components with absolutely no upgrades on it. And let's go ahead and see how long that takes. Alright, so I think that took about 3 minutes. So let's go ahead and empty out the contents of that garbaggio. Oh my goodness. Now, unfortunately, you are unable to add speed or yield modules. You can add production, or not production, the power reduction modules, or you can add speed modules, which I've added here. Now, let's go ahead and add the exact same 500 of these bad boys. Let's go ahead and turn on the production, and let's see how long this takes. Alright, so as you can see, significantly faster with the speed mods. I don't know exactly how fast, but I think that only took about a minute. So Editing Ryan is obviously going to put in some time codes as you've been watching this entire video, so you will know exactly how long it takes. And last but certainly not least, we have speed or power efficiency modules. So again, let's go ahead and set up a demonstration here. So let's go into our spawn menu, and I'm gonna fill up the refinery with let's do uranium ore, because it takes quite a while to be processed. So there we go, we have the uranium ore filled up. Alright, so if we just come over to our battery so we can see our input and output, currently we're outputting 1.17 megawatts. Now let's go ahead and add the speed mod onto the refinery. Alright, power, man, I do not know the mods I'm using. Alright, now with the power reduction modules on the refinery, let's go ahead and take a quick peek at our battery again to show the actual input and output. But as we can see, we have the current output at 722.13 kilowatts, which gives us about a 38.3 reduction in power usage. So that it could be quite useful, again, if you're a little bit tight for power usage and you don't want to be using too much. But do keep in mind that this will block up the entire expansion module slots for the refinery or the assembler. The power efficiency mods work on the assembler as well. However, for me personally, I generally like to do yield modules on the refineries that are processing cobalt, uranium, platinum, heck, even sometimes I put iron in there. But do keep in mind that iron doesn't really follow those 50% increase in output. Iron really barely does anything, so there's not much use in putting something like iron into a yield module. I generally segregate my yield module refineries from my other refineries, such as ones with speed mods, because speed mods are better for stone. Another quick thing that I would like to mention is that if we just go over here with my welder equipped here and we look at the components list on the right side, we see that, for example, the power efficiency requires 20 power cells, the yield module requires 20 superconductors, and the speed module requires just basic components. So there are a couple of special components that you will need to build. For example, with superconductors, you need to have some gold refined and be able to build superconductors. What is happening to this pipe? But you need to be able to build superconductors, and you need an actual assembler. This bad boy, you can't be using the basic assembler. This right here, where's the front of it? There we go. That is the basic assembler, as I said earlier, and this is the actual refinery. You need the actual assembler. You need the actual assembler to make stuff like superconductors. But anyways, guys, that's gonna go ahead and do it for this episode. I hope I was able to help you understand the differences between each module, and if I did, or if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already to see some more of my hopefully helpful content. Please do check out my survival series, as I am trying to get that up and going. It is quite a fun game to play, so I really hope to see you over there, and hopefully we can help each other change the way we build stuff. But anyways, guys, make sure to check the description for all of the mentioned links and all that good stuff that I am linking to. And of course, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. But until next time, ladies and gents, peace.